They put her in a tiny metal coffin, strapped to a rocket, and launched her into orbit to die. No food, no way back, just silence, panic, and space. Her name was Laika. On November 3rd, 1957, the Soviet Union made history with Sputnik 2, sending the first ever living creature into orbit. A small dog named Laika, plucked from the streets of Moscow, was sent on a one-way journey into space. They called it a triumph, but for Laika, it was a death sentence. There was no provisions for survival, no chance of return. She was just left in a metal coffin, hurtling through space. We learned from this. We never did anything like that to dogs ever again, right? Why did the Soviet Union do this? The USSR wanted to prove that they could send a living creature into orbit before the United States. They needed a test subject, something alive, small, and resilient. This is where Laika came in, a stray dog living on the cold streets of Moscow. She was chosen because the Soviet scientists believed that stray dogs had what it took to be the test subject for this experiment. They believed stray dogs were resilient, used to hunger, used to the cold, so that probably made them feel better about what they were about to do to her. She was snatched from the only life she knew and thrown into a cold, sterile lab to be turned into a living science experiment. And the training they put her through was brutal. Day by day, her world shrank. She was locked in progressively smaller cages until she barely had room to move. They spun her around in machines that mimicked the violent shaking of a rocket launch. They had her strapped into restrictive suits and fitted with wires to monitor her vitals. She had no idea what was happening to her. Then came launch day. Strapped into a tiny metal capsule with no way out, she was blasted into space to die alone. Soviet officials claim she died painlessly, just orbiting the Earth. But when the truth came out, it couldn't have been more the opposite. She died in agony, and it took hours. The spacecraft had overheated, and she was terrified. A normal heart rate for a dog of her size is around 140 beats a minute. In a state of complete fear and panic, her heart rate raced to over 260 beats a minute. She panted, scratched, and suffered before the heat and stress finally ended her life. She didn't die in peace. She died in panic. She died in pain. She died for politics. Even some Soviet scientists later admitted they regretted what they did. The more the time passes, the more I'm sorry about it. We shouldn't have done it. We did not learn enough from the mission to justify the death of the dog. Laika's story is a dark moment in history that we should have learned from, but in a way, it was just a blueprint for what's still happening today. The next Laika, you might already be funding her death without even knowing it. Right now, in research facilities all around the world, dogs are being used in experiments that'll never survive. Beagles, chosen for their gentle nature, are force-fed experimental chemicals, often until they suffer organ failure or die. Some dogs are injured on purpose to test various treatments. Others have their organs removed to see how long they'll survive.
They do a terminal bleeding where they just put a hypodermic into the dog's main arteries and its own part just empties it of blood, and then they harvest the organs and that's it. That will be the end of them.
Why do these frankly backwards countries continue to do this to animals? Do they not have any animal welfare laws? Well, this isn't happening in some faraway country with no animal welfare laws. It's happening where you live. It's happening in the United States, the United Kingdom, the European Union, everywhere. Take MBR Acres in the UK.
MBR Acres is a facility in Huntingdon that breeds beagles for the purposes of animal testing, scientific testing. A number of my constituents have written to me raising serious concerns about the inhumane and cruel treatment to which some of those dogs are subjected to.
Where activists have camped outside protesting for years at what they call Camp Beagle. The facility breeds beagles to be experimented on. Every year, thousands of puppies are taken from their mothers, raised in sterile cages, and sold to laboratories. They never see the sun. They never feel grass. Their first experience of the outside world is when they're shoved into a crate and sent off to be experimented on. They'll know nothing but a life of pain and suffering. When their bodies have been pushed to the limits, they're killed. Just a used test subject. Imagine if this was your dog, your best friend, trapped, caged, awaiting a brutal death. Our health is important though, so if animal testing helps us come up with new medications that make our lives better, is it worth it? But the truth is, over 90% of drugs that pass tests in animals fail when tested on humans. Many drugs that were considered safe in animals ended up causing devastating health impacts in humans. Meanwhile, cutting-edge alternatives like human cell-based testing, AI simulations, and organ-on-a-chip technology offer a more ethical alternative to animal testing with better results. Why would anyone keep doing this if it doesn't even work? Well, when Big Pharma is involved, big money is involved, and people are making millions off of animal testing. The animal testing industry is a multi-billion-dollar business. Facilities like MBR Acres make millions from breeding dogs and selling them to labs. Pharmaceutical giants fund these experiments because they tick regulatory boxes, whether they actually provide useful data or not. And who pays the price? Dogs like Laika. Dogs like the ones that are bred in MBR Acres. Dogs like this little girl right here. And it doesn't end with dogs. The multi-billion-dollar pharmaceutical industry does these invasive, violent tests on cats, rats, mice, monkeys, rabbits, and other animals too. Support cruelty-free research. Push for scientists and researchers to use alternatives that use human-based cells and human-based tissue, not testing on dogs like this little guy and other animals. Leica didn't choose her fate, and neither did the millions of other dogs locked in factories just waiting for the experiment that's going to kill them. But we can choose how their stories end. We can choose to end their suffering. Raise awareness. Talk about this video. Talk about Camp Beagle. Don't let these dogs go unseen and unheard. Share this video with the people you know who say they love dogs, and challenge them to do something about this.
We've got to. Yeah?
Surely someone out there wants to adopt this puppy. Surely someone wants this little girl in their home and a nice life. Click the link in the description. Find out how you can help these lovely puppers. Either take one home, like this one, tongue out of my mouth, or at least send some money to help them get these guys a home, to help them look after these guys. And they need your help in the form of a home or in some money, so that they can afford to feed them, give them medicine, and just help them live the best lives they can. Hopefully find them a home. Just look at this lovely puppy.